All right. So we are now live on YouTube. I've got everything open. There's nobody in the room yet. I'm just going to make sure the chat function is working today.
Great. And I'll be able to share my screen.
You should be able to. If you go down to the bottom, there should be a function that says share screen. And if you can't, I can make sure that I can give you permission to.
Okay. Good. I want more sunshine.
I know. It's warm out, but it's not quite so sunny.
Yeah.
All right, looks like the chat function is working just fine. That's good.
Great.
So we'll be able to communicate with people. All right, we're just barely at 10 o'clock. I keep forgetting because my work laptop is in like a different, like it's like almost 10 minutes ahead. So I always get lost in like different time. It's like I'm in two different time zones or something that are just separated by just a few minutes.
That can be,
For sure. All right, we don't have anyone joining us yet, but we'll just go ahead and keep waiting.
Okay. Sounds good.
And if for some reason we don't get anybody in, we can still go ahead and do it if you want to, because it'll be recorded, and that way we can share it with the rest of our audiences.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So
I think that's the beauty of doing it this way, is that we can record it and people can watch it at a different time.
yeah, definitely. Also, I love that quilt that's behind you.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it, but I purposely draped it on my backdrop.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, my grandma made it, and it's kind of might be just my new background.
Yeah, it's great. All right. It's 10:04.
Okay.
So I'm wondering maybe we just wait. We still don't seem to have anybody in the room yet, although it's possible that because my connection is a little unstable, I'm just not seeing it. So why don't we go ahead and wait just like 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and I'll go dark and you can just get started.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, great. I've closed all my other applications and I turned off Wi-Fi on my other devices, so hopefully that'll help keep my Wi-Fi nice and strong.
Good. Yeah. I know. I always kind of wonder if we have like lots of things going, if that contributes to the speed of our internet.
Yeah, I think so too.
My dog wanted to hang out in here, but I'm afraid he'd want to eat all my art materials if I.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's your dog's name?
Merle. He's after Merle Haggard.
Merle.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard. Yep.
Merle Haggard. Yep,
I
he
love
came with
it.
that name and we liked it. So we kept it.
That's nice.
Yeah. Do you have a
What kind of dog is he?
Oh, I think he's Schnauzer and golden retriever. But he's like pure black. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah. What an interesting mix.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's cuz one of the siblings that came with him, they got a DNA cuz I wouldn't have guessed that combination at all. So,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Sure.
He's he's pretty great. So, do you have any pets?
Yeah, I have a dog named Princess Leia, but she's over on the couch snoozing. She's getting a little bit older now, so she snoozes a lot more. But I have a sticker for my water bottle, so that's what she looks like.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. uh, pets?
Yeah, she is. I think she's some kind of collie mix, but I'm not sure. I've had her for about 6 years, so
Okay. She looks like a collie.
yeah, I think so. I also got her DNA tested, but it came back a bunch of stuff that I was like, I'm not sure that this is it. So, and collie was not one of them, which is very funny, but she definitely looks like a collie.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I say if it's okay with you, we should just go ahead and get started. You know, it looks right now like we don't have anybody on the channel, but if someone starts to join, I'll just jump in and let you know so that you could do a little bit of a reintroduction. But I say let's go ahead because this will be recorded and archived, and they'll get not whoever watches this in the future will get a lot of very nice pre-art school conversation between you and I, showing off our talking about our pets. Um, so thank you everyone for joining us. Those of you who are joining us now or watching this in the future pre-recorded. My name is Angela Olson. I'm the Studio Programs Associate and at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. And today we have another session of Art School with Sara Tucker. So you guys see a little bit of us kind of getting ready for you, but thanks so much for taking the time to do some art with us today. And with that, I'm gonna go dark, Sara. If anything happens, I will monitor the chat. I'll pop in and out if there's anything I need to let you know, but otherwise I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you. Well, it's so good to be here with everyone again and that we got to be with each other last month and today. I We're going to be in celebration of women, celebrating women this month. We're going to talk about weaving and women, some of the inspirational women that throughout history have done some weaving and looking at what weaving is and what it means to us and what it has meant to other people. And then we are going to do a little bit of creating our own kind of weaving. So I did bring, like I did last time, some inspirational weavings or quilting. In fact, last time we met, we talked about quilting. I didn't have my quilt up at that time, but the quilt behind me is an inspiration for me. My grandma, Edna Faye Steele, made this. And, you know, when we talk about quilting or weaving, there's stories. And this one's called Women's Voices. And so I thought it was appropriate for this month celebrating women, History Month. And so different people have different squares and they bring their colors and their textiles, and it's a beautiful way of building community and history. So that's an inspiration. I also brought, when we talk about how weaving or quilting is passed down. So my grandma taught her daughter, Karen Sorensen, how to weave and sew. And this is a basket that she made, which is a weaving. And I'll bring it closer so you can see some of the stitches and the colors. So that's an inspiration to me. And the sensory, we're going to be talking about the senses today too, of what do we see and what do we smell and how does it sound? So when I feel this, it's kind of smooth, but it also has the ripples along the side. And you might have something at home too, where it's very colorful and has different layers. And you can think about looking and observing. There's another family named Sorensen. Excellent. Well, it's wonderful to have another Sorensen. So yeah, when we talk about what do we see, how do we observe different sensory experiences in the arts. So I'm going to show a few slides before we get to creating ourselves on some inspirations. So let me share my screen. All right. So we today are looking at weaving with found materials. And we are going to look first of all at weaving thoughts. And I have that example of the basket, the weaving basket on the right by my Aunt Karen. I want to ask a few questions and I'll leave some time for you to, if you're with somebody, to talk about these questions or just hold them yourself and think about what inspires you. So what do you think about when we say weaving? What are some thoughts when we bring up the word weaving or when you are looking at weaving? So I'm gonna let you talk with the person you're with or hold it yourself, and please do use the chat button on the bottom. I would love to hear your thoughts about weaving. Or you might be a weaver yourself or have it in your family. So I'd love to hear a little bit more. Great. And you might be finding that you want to spend some more time with this question. And I put some of my answers up here. When I think of weaving, I think about when I was a child and my grandma quilting behind me. Her quilt is there. And I think of the textures and the patterns and the colors, what different colors and different patterns will do when they're next to each other. And what does weaving bring? It brings comfort to me. It might bring some memories to people. It might bring some emotions. So I'd love to hear what weaving means to you. If you want to put it in the chat button or talk to the person next to you about what that means. Also, what we were talking about before, how does it smell? How does it feel? Is it rough? Is it smooth? We're going to look at some weavings that have different kinds of materials other than the fabric that I've shown you so far. So I want to mention that there's an exhibit coming up at MIA, and it's going to be coming on March 11th through October 24th, 2021. And it's called Unexpected Turns. So women artists and the making of American basket weaving traditions. So we're going to be looking at a couple of pieces and artists from that show. So it'll be something to look forward to, and it will inspire us in our creating time. And this is a piece here. It's a miniature basket, and Pima, which means river people, and it is from the Native American culture. They're smaller. There was a whole sort of grouping of baskets that were small enough for people to purchase and take with them. And a lot of these baskets either made with sweetgrass or different natural materials. And I think what I love is that it's using the materials that are in our environment and what is around us. And when we create, in just a little bit, I'm going to be creating with what's around me. And you can also think about how to create what's in your environment. And so this basket has a beautiful pattern. Oftentimes you'll see patterns, and they might be connected to a particular history or family heritage, stories. There's a lot of stories and community wrapped up in what is created. So this is another basket that, so we can see here. So this one is from the Papago, if I'm saying that correctly, from desert, which means desert people. So the early 1900s. And be Native American culture primarily in Arizona and in Mexico. And it's been interesting to read about some of these pieces that are going to be in this show. This one, I wanted to show you and ask the question of, what do you see with this basket? What do you notice? Whether it's colors or objects. So take a few minutes and talk with who's next to you. Put it in the chat button. What do you see? What do you notice? There's a lot you can see. I love to do this practice with other pieces of art, and just taking a walk in nature or around in your home, is what do you see and what do you notice? So what I'm noticing is people. So there's two people here. And where are they going? Is, I always think, gosh, where are these people going? What are they doing? And you can come up with your own story. This piece might have a rich story that hopefully at the exhibit will tell us a little bit more, or it leaves it to our imagination. What I love is this couple. It looks like a couple. They're holding hands, or maybe it's a brother and sister. Maybe it's husband and wife, or a couple, or friends, but they're holding hands. Maybe they're walking somewhere. Maybe they're walking home. Maybe they were at somebody else's house or in the fields. You know, what is the story there? You can spend some time with that, and it's fun to develop your own story. Oh, and it looks like she's wearing a pink dress or a pink outfit. So that's fun to come up with a story within an art piece. Let's see. Yep, this is an artist I wanted to share with you that's in the exhibit, Henrietta Snipe. So she's from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And she also, what I was talking about earlier, her art has been passed down from her grandma and her mom to her, and she is also passing it along within schools in South Carolina. And a lot of a lot of what she creates and in this community is from West Africa, which I find fascinating. And actually I'm wearing earrings that are from West Africa. She made me think of these pieces. And so I wanted to ask you, what do you notice in Henrietta's work? She has 2 pieces there. So what do you notice? What is she doing? And what's in front of her? And she's got a few things going on. She actually, if you can notice, she has what kind of looks like a brooch that looks like that she has has woven, and she's working on a piece with that she's holding, but also looks like that she has a piece in front of her that almost looks like a table or a mushroom. Can't quite tell. I would love to see that in person, to see how big it is and to see what it is. And then the basket next to her is just huge and round, and looks like you could put, to me, I think, gosh, you could put a lot of fruit in there. What would you put in that basket? Would be my question.
Sarah, just jumping in here to let you know, we've got a couple people that have joined us in the last few minutes. And Karen Sorensen in the chat just said that she sees repetition, some of the things that she noticed in Henrietta's artwork.
Excellent. Karen, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, repetition, and we'll see that a lot in weaving or quilting, is that repetition. And also the patterns, like I had mentioned before, oftentimes carries stories, carries history. So there's a lot there. That's beautiful. So let me go back here. Okay, one other artist, and this is a jump. So what we saw from Henrietta was pretty traditional. She used sweetgrass as her material. So Tracy Crum, who's also in the exhibit coming up, uses a very different kind of material, weaving with metal. So it's hard to kind of see, but I put a couple of her pieces up here. She uses a non-traditional material, and you can see the piece on the left kind of resembles a more traditional quilt to some degree. Some of the patterns that we've talked about in the repetition, almost quilt-like at the top and the bottom. And it's hanging. And the one on the right, it's very sculptural. It's also hanging on the wall, but it almost looks like a lamp. It looks like, what does it look like to you? What are some things that you notice in these pieces? And she has very sculptural pieces. If you look at her work, she has a very large pieces as well that I hope will be on exhibit at MIA. But I wanted to give you those examples of the 2 very different artists and how we can weave with different kinds of material. So thinking outside the box of what can we weave with. So we are going to spend some time creating, and through this process, don't feel like you need to rush through it. You can always go back to this video, and so if you find yourself involved with the material and you want to stay there, please do just enjoy the process and have fun with it. And so looking at the materials that we're going to use today, there are different materials you can use. I'm going to use a stool, which is the one on the far right. I'm going to use that. You can use a box. I have example of a few boxes. A shoe box is also something you can use, or a chair, or a hanger. So you can choose one of these. And this will be sort of our device to weave. And then these are the materials that you'll want to have with you when we do this, creating time. And again, see what is around you and what do you have, and you can weave with just about anything. The more that I was playing with this project the other day, I discovered, gosh, you really can weave with just about anything. So let me get out of this and come back here. Okay, so we're gonna spend some time creating, and I'm gonna show you what I did the other day. So here is my stool. So it actually goes like this. So you would sit on this, not on the table, but it goes upside down, and I use the feet to weave. And I did this experiment the other day. So I'll show you a little bit of what I was weaving with. So I took some, let me turn this down a little bit. I took some ribbon. So I have some ribbon here, and I have some magazine. If you were with me last time, we did a lot with magazines because I have a lot of magazines. This is some mesh from buying lemons. This, I have a lot of these little tags, so I thought I would put a tag in there. And what I have going all the way around, and I'm going to show you how to do this, is yarn. But if you don't have yarn, maybe you have string, maybe you have a shoelace. You could use whatever you have. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to move this up a little bit from the beginning, and I'm going to turn it this way. Okay, the beautiful thing about this, why I like to use, say, the stool or a chair, you could cut this off and have it as a finished piece. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around, and I can use this side. Let me turn this down a little bit. But I'm going to show you what I did at the top to create this. This is very easy. And please, if you have any questions or if you have anything you'd like to chat about, please do on the chat button. So I was using this. I love the color orange or red, so I was very attracted to this. And through this process, if there's a material that pops out at you or you find really captures who you are, that's another part of your story in the artwork that you make, is what are you excited about? So I'm going to take this, and what I did was kind of started at one spot, and what you can do is you can tie it onto a leg. And I would knot it so it would stay in one place. So we'll knot this, and so it stays on this leg. And all I did was take it and wrap it around all the legs. So it's like this, wrapping it around. And you can go around as much or as little as you want. I kind of went around about like 5 or 6 times. You just keep going, and you keep attention to it so that it can hold the material. So you keep a little bit of tension. And then when you get to the end, I'm going to stop there. Since I have some down here, I wanted to show you how to attach this. I take my scissors, so you'll want scissors. And I want to cut that piece. And then you tie it to your leg like you did when you first started. And that way it holds onto the chair. So I think what was fun about this was when I was thinking about what kind of project should I do, I thought, well, I have a lot of chairs with legs, and that works great for weaving. So you kind of have to allow yourself to be playful and discover what you can create with. So now we have our weaving area, and I'm going to show you some materials that I like to weave with. So I like to use found objects and not necessarily flat. This one is more sculptural. These are very beautiful. In fact, you could use this and weave through this material. So that's another project that you could do. But I'm going to actually use this piece. And I like to start from the bottom. Let me change this a little bit. I like to start from the bottom, and I go in and out. So it doesn't matter if you start in or out, but I will just start by weaving in and out, on top and underneath, and just go up, on top and over. And if you need to, you can push these down a little bit so they're closer. So that's my first piece. And the beautiful thing about this is you can expand it, or if you want it tighter together, I'm going to put this one tighter together. So there, that's our first layer. And then the second layer, I'm going to use a ribbon. So I have a ribbon, and you can always cut it, or you can use the full length. And when I start on my second layer, I do opposite from what I started with this layer. So this one I'm going to weave in and out, in and out, in and out. And notice the textures when you're touching these materials. The ribbon is quite soft. This mesh had a very interesting texture working with it. A little bit more rough. So there's our second layer. And I did some kind of ripping or cutting of some materials, either from magazines, or this is from like my orange bag. It's kind of a plastic. Again, I went towards what I was attracted to in color. So I'm going to take this, I like this black and white next to this blue. And the beautiful thing is you can try one material next to the other, and if you decide you don't like it, you can take it out and put it in a different spot. So I'm going to weave up, up, up. But you can also start at the top and weave down. To me, there are no rules. The beautiful thing about creating is you can do it however you like. So there's our next layer. And so this is the mesh I was talking about. This one came with my ginger root. I kind of like this white. So I'm going to take this. Here, you can see my face through here. I'm going to take this off and use the mesh. It's a beautiful mesh, very sculptural. So I could fold it to make it thinner, which I think I will do for this case, but you can also use like the whole thing. Again, you could just weave this whole part right over here, but I'm gonna fold it so I can make it a little bit thinner. So again, I'm gonna weave up. This one sticks a little bit to the yarn. And if you have any questions, and again, if you're working with materials and you find yourself inspired with one process and you're not quite at this process, please do stop and enjoy where you're at. This is for us to enjoy. So there's that. And I'm going to turn it to the side so you can see a little bit of how it kind of comes out. It's very sculptural. It's a lot of fun. So look, we've got this side and we've got this side. All right. And it looks like we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure we've got enough time. I'm going to put this piece to the side for a moment. And I'm going to show you also how to do it with a box. If I have this plastic box, now if you have a shoe box or even like a really tiny little box, you can use that, or a big box. Also a pan. You can, I've got this in the kitchen. If you have a, not a great looking pan, but if you have a pan, you can also use that. So get creative on what you already have in your house. So I'm going to show you with this how to do similar motions that I did with that project. So I'm going to use again my orange yarn, and I'm going to wrap around once. Put this down a little bit, and I'm going to tie a knot so that it stays, and make it so that there's a little bit of tension. And there's my knot right there. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap. The beautiful thing about this smaller box is it's a little bit more manageable to do when you're sitting down. So I'm going to wrap it as much as you want. I might do it 5 or 6 times. And see how it's wrapping around. And again, you can always, I'm going to push mine down a little bit. Like this. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now that I've completed that, I'm going to cut and tie that end piece to the piece previous to it so that it holds its tension. There we go. You know, another way you can do this if you don't have string is using a rubber band. If you have a few different rubber bands, you can just put the rubber band around it, and that would work just fine. Okay, so here is our piece. So where we're going to do the weaving is in this area. So see, here's the open box, and then we will weave into here. So I'm going to grab a few materials that I've prepared ahead of time. So here's that plastic piece. I love the different colors on here. So I'm going to weave, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to go under, up, under, up, under, up. So this is what it looks like with one layer. And again, after you finish your weavings, like we did previously, you can cut this and connect all the ends, or you can just leave it here on the box. You can even hang that up on the wall or have it sit. I'm going to take one more layer. This is a little bit of some mesh. You can tell I like the mesh material. And I'll do the opposite, so going under, up, under, up. So it's what kind of story do we want to tell about ourselves with materials? Maybe even writing a story. I have these tags. I have a lot of these tags kind of around my house. And so I could, if I want to write something on there and attach it to my piece, I can. I think I want to write the word peace. It could almost be a prayer or a hope or a wish for somebody. So if I write the word peace, and I can also weave that into my piece, and you can tie it and attach it. There's the word peace. So I think I'm going to stop right there. This gives you an example of how to use the box and the weaving technique, or the stool. Let me show you this again. So we did this today, this weaving, and then this was one I did previously. And I hope this inspires you to see what's in your own environment and what you can do to create using found objects. And it was fun to be able to have this time together and be inspired by other women weaving artists and the stories that they have to tell. Glad I got to share with you some of my inspirations on weaving. And yeah, I hope you have a beautiful sunny day. It's warmer outside today, and I hope you can find new inspiration today, whether that's inside or outside. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for everyone for joining us. My apologies if there were any breaks in the video. We're having a little bit of an unstable connection today. So if you missed anything or you have any questions, feel free to email info@artsmia.org. You can also be sure to check out the exhibition that Sarah was talking about, the different basket weaving by different women artists. It's on view at the museum now, and you can also look at it virtually at artsmia.org. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next month with Sarah, and we'll have another art school next week. So
Great.
have a great day.